Holy, lovely, lovely voice, Batman! Tiki here, and I have been watching through Batman the Animated Series for the first time through the good and the bad, and most importantly, recently, the mediocre. And I need some help. I need some help to guide me out of this pit of mediocrity. Who will help guide the way?
Rest assured, folks, I'm here because long ago I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham, in a way.
And tonight we're talking about none other than Bane and Dragon. Let me just say, I thought it was all right.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I really like this one a lot. Quite a lot, buddy. This was up my alley, guy. This is kind of the Batman that I've been looking for since the Ra's al Ghul episode this season, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like this season started strong. I feel like there's kind of been a lull in the middle of season 3. And honestly, Dragon, knowing kind of what's coming next to a certain extent, I think we're going to end strong, buddy. I think this season's really going to stick to landing, and Bane is the start of it. Here's the thing I love most about this episode, Dragon, because I really don't want to bury the lead on it. We'll cover it in detail when we get to it, but I admire so much the fact that, like, throughout the whole episode, I'm being like, okay, they can't do the back break. They can't do the back break. You know, there's no way. And, folks, we get all the way up to the edge of the back break, and we subvert it. And how we subvert it is something arguably even more disturbing. So, yeah, Dragon, I like the episode all the way around. I think it's got a really tight narrative structure to it. I think it's a really good example of Bane as a character. I honestly think it's probably a way better comic book interpretation of Bane than The Dark Knight Rises was, as much as I like The Dark Knight Rises Bane. And I had a lot of fun with it overall. I think this is a really, really rock solid episode. I don't necessarily think it'd make it into my top 10 of Batman the Animated Series episodes we've seen so far. But if I'm being honest, Dragon, it would be a solid honorable mention.
Yeah. To be fair, there's been a lot of really good episodes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But still, a lot of really good episodes. Solid honorable mention among the really good episodes. All right.
All right, let me contextualize some things here. Provide a little history lesson for you and the kids. So, funny enough, you mentioned Ra's al Ghul, because the director on this was Kevin Altieri. And of course, Kevin Altieri had done the Two-Face two-parter, as well as one of my other favorite two-parters, The Demon's Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, introduction of Ra's al Ghul, as well as On Leather Wings, to give you he was there from the beginning, folks. And speaking of that, someone else there from the beginning. The writer on this was Mitch Bryan. Now, you haven't heard Mitch Bryan a whole lot, because he's been the credited writer on mainly 3 episodes, and this being the third of the 3. He had done On Leather Wings, the very first one. He had done POV, kind of the vague, what do you call it, like a Rosh Hashanah, like the multiple perspectives.
Just multiple perspectives, yeah.
All right, fine. The points of the POV episode. Anyway, and this episode. Now, Mitch Bryan, very special thing, though. Again, doesn't get a lot of the reason the name is really important. Mitch Bryan was the guy there from the very beginning who along with Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, figured out the animated series Bible, basically kind of the show Bible for kind of the inalienable things, kind of the vision of the show, basically the kind of pitches for episodes that would eventually come into being. So Mitch Bryan was the guy who figured it out. So like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, they really wrote, they knew the comics, and they kind of slowly but surely got Mitch Bryan into the lore. Mitch Bryan was kind of the guy pitching the stories and everything. So that's kind of where that came from. Bruce Timm was kind of the guy with the plan, like how we're going to realize this. Dini with obviously the ties to the material, and Mitch Bryan just kind of the television prowess, as it were. Winning combination. Studio worked on this, Dong Yang. And Teague, every time I talk about Dong Yang's work on Season 3, this is what I'm talking about. I think they just cracked the code in Season 3 on how to have a really kind of a good running design and kind of very stable design of Batman and the characters. This episode just looks, it's so, as you said, it's tight in the narrative, but also tight in the design and kind of how it comes.
That red background, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Such a bold choice. We'll get there.
Of course, Dong Yang, they've done so many episodes, the limited, they've done Trial, they did Two-Face Part 2, and one of my all-time favorites, they did Laughing Fish. Gotta love Dong Yang. Okay. So, big thing, this was the most recent adaptation they had ever done in the animated series, as you can probably guess. So Bane's a 90s thing. And, of course, Bane is, like, relatively new. So, like, the idea in the comics is that Death of Superman is a huge event, so we want a Batman equivalent. So we come up with Bane, who's famously going to break his back, and that'll be, like, a huge thing. It's going to be, we can't kill Batman off because we're not
Bane wasn't a Liefeld thing, was he?
No, it wasn't a Liefeld thing.
I didn't think so.
No, Denny O'Neil, he came up with the idea for Venom, like stuff that goes in. Like he came up with like in pill form though. That was like a one-off kind of Batman story. They kind of like saw an in for like we want to do this Bane character and we got to pump him up. Let's use the Venom stuff that we've established. So, point being, they wanted like a doomsday gimmick and like an equivalent for Superman for Batman. So they came up with Nightfall was a huge event for the '90s. It was the defining thing of the '90s for Batman in the comics versus the animated series, which is basically kind of like the testament to Batman in the hearts and minds, and still to this day, 25 or so years later, you get the picture. So, point being, Bane Mania was at a height. This is like we're in with the Adventures of Batman and Robin we're in right now. This is like the middle of the 90s, I believe, like 95. We're in 94, 95 at this point, and Bane like happens, I think, in like 93. So the point being, there's like a lot of like they never confirmed this, but there's probably some pressure from DC and the higher ups saying like, hey, guys, big event going on now, making a lot of money for Batman. Maybe we could, your show, beloved, let's add a new character in there. You did the ventriloquist, he was from the 80s. Let's go up a little bit. So of course, Bane, very timely. And here's the reason you have this episode. That wasn't something I can't confirm that. What I can confirm is that Bruce Timm and Mitch Bryan, they're keeping up on Batman around this point in time, so they hear about the story, and they're not a fan of the backbreak. They're not a fan of Nightfall. See, here's the thing with Nightfall. I'm not going to bore you with all the boring details, but Nightfall is a 3-part story. It's 3 acts. Act 1's the act everyone cares about, because that ends with the backbreak. Act 2 is like we have, John Paul Valley, which I don't care about, and then Act 3 is, okay, Batman comes back. The problem with that story has always been after Batman's back breaks, and even the movie has trouble with this. It's always a stretch saying Batman actually healed, and the healing process is always the tough part of that story because you're gonna have Batman, the character you care about, out of the equation for all of Act 2, and that's a rough part of the story.
That was a big part of the problem I had with Dark Knight Rises, and unfortunately, there's no real way around it.
And again, it's kind of a flawed part of the story. And I think, let me put this with you. I think Rises did the absolute best they could. And again, they economized it. That's what I'm saying. It's a hard thing to do. I'm saying they did the best.
I'm saying we'll agree to disagree, man, because I have major flaws with that prison stuff.
What I mean, you haven't read Nightfall. That's what I'm getting at, man. You don't know how like.
All right, that's fair. That's totally fair.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, I hear the criticism. I'm just saying if you line the two up, they did.
Dragon, actually, you know what? I'm actually going to correct you. I have read Nightfall.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
You know who John Paul Valley is?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. You know what? Nightfall was one of those things that I read in my local bookstore in the graphic novel section, just kind of like on a whim one day. I just sat, I read it. I paid for it afterwards, of course, but I remember it being like an all-day reading session for me.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I know my stuff about Nightfall, and granted, Act 2 of Nightfall, not great, and Dark Knight Rises certainly does it better. I still have major flaws with the Dark Knight Rises stuff on a cinematic level.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm talking one component of them. Okay, sure, I got you. Okay, anyways. Okay, regardless. So again, there's some implied pressure by DC, but also it's just mainly, the whole episode is really kind of like the inception, the whole thing is like Bruce Timm saying, why did they break his back? Because these guys work in the animation field, and they're like, and like making Batman into a series. Like, why would you upend the status quo like that, then take your main guy out of the equation like that? So they never cared for the story. They never really wanted to tell the story, but it was kind of like, why don't we do our, if we're going to be kind of stymied into people are going to want to see this character or something, and it's kind of a big thing right now, why don't we interpret it and do it our way, the way we'd like to see it? So it's kind of like they don't want to do the story, but they have like, why don't we do the backbreak in a better way in their mind? So that's kind of what you get in this episode, which is ambitious, which you can imagine polarized a lot of people who are going into this for some reason thinking we're actually going to break Batman's back on a Saturday morning show. So I think,
Dragon, I was not one of those people, and I'm kind of surprised we got as far as we did with it.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. So they took their spin on it, and it's kind of the exploration factor of season 3. Season 3, as I've mentioned before, and with the Ra's al Ghul, we're really diving into more comic book stuff. Again, Bane being the prime example of doing that. And again, so this is they had the leeway to do something like this, and it shows. And it's I think it turned out quite nicely. I like this episode a lot more than other people do because again, the big Nightfall.
Yep.
Super fans aren't crazy about this episode because they took they economized and no backbreak. But anyway, we'll get into all that. So let's just dive right into it.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, like I said, this is one of my favorite things about the Batcave for me is going in fresh to all these episodes. I have no idea what the fan perception is to any of these things. So honestly, like I said, this certainly isn't a top 10 of the entire series, but I will say it's definitely one of my favorites of season 3 at the very least. So, I do hold it in pretty high regard.
Okay.
All right, so let's get right into it. Dragon, at this point, are we pretty much like to the point of the Adventures of Batman and Robin? Like, are we ever going to see the new intro or the old intro again?
If my memory serves, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's all Batman and Robin going forward.
I just need to get used to that.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, again, the next episode, I'm just blanking. The next episode, if there's going to be one, it would be the next one. If not, then it's all just Batman and Robin going forward. I'm pretty sure it's all Batman and Robin going forward. Okay.
All right, so
when we get to the revamp, that's a different story.
I do kind of want to acknowledge the title card because I like that the title card is just like, the big hulking figure bursting through the wall.
Absolutely, really cool.
All right, so we start the episode in kind of a Casablanca-esque way. At least I thought so.
Yeah, very Casablanca. All the airports in Gotham in the animated series look like Casablanca. Let's be honest.
Right. Let's be honest. Yeah.
But you love it for it though.
All right, so we see a mysterious woman waiting for a plane to arrive, Dragon, and down on the plane comes some relatively average-looking passengers. A woman with a pink outfit, a man with a mustache, and then what's this? A giant luchador man.
Yep.
The hat.
Suit and tie. I love that Bane dresses for air travel. I love that.
That's my favorite part of the Bane design in this whole episode, Dragon, is the fact that he's got the suit, the tie, and the hat on top of the luchador mask. I love it.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this lady isn't so mysterious, Dick. You've seen her before. This is Candace. Now, I haven't seen her often, so I don't blame you. You haven't seen her since season 1.
Yeah, kind of a deep pull.
But a cool deep pull. And again, Altieri as well, who did the Two-Face episode. So this is Rupert Thorne had an assistant who was named Candace, and she was the lady who tricked Harvey Dent's fiance into kind of screwing him over in the end.
Gotcha.
The point is the ruthless assistant of Rupert Thorne, Candace. That she plays. She'd be really mean. She can be a really mean lady.
Well, I mean, based on her actions towards Robin at the end of Act 3, yes.
Yeah. But also very good at her job, especially in that Two-Face two-part. And here as well, she's tasked to find the best help that money can buy to take out Batman. So what does she do? She finds a killer obsessed with the Batman obsession, which, I mean, you can't look any further, right? It's perfect. So she's smooching Bane, Bane. He's I love
I'm sorry. I gotta ogle at the scale of Bane. I love it. I love the look visually. It's so cool.
I love the build up too. Before you really get you kind of see him, but also he's handing his giant heavy luggage, which we later find out are just carries a bunch of weights and probably his device in the case. Which is funny. He literally has weights in his briefcase. I don't tell you how to live your life. I'm sorry, dumb joke. Anyways. So,
God.
anyway, so the point being, we have this running gag, or like, it's so hard to find good help these days.
I'm just gonna call one thing out about this episode. I really think that Rupert Thorne should have repeated that line at the end.
Well, I hear you. I'm glad we get at least the second time, but I mean that's there's no room for it in the third act. That's the problem.
I don't
It's
know.
kind of implied though.
I kind of
It's
disagree.
implied. I mean, it's him. Who's he gonna say it to? Batman? I don't.
No, he's just gonna sternly I think instead of we'll get there. We'll get there.
Put a pin in, man. We'll absolutely get there. Okay.
All right.
So anyway, point being, she's schmoozing Bane there, like telling her like, "Oh, I'm the one who hired you. I had the right idea." And of course, Bane the Latin lover, man. Oh God, I love this. This has always been. I'm gonna make a statement here, not a hot take, but maybe a tepid take. I don't know. This has always been kind of one of my favorite takes of on Bane as a character. I think everything came together here. He's got kind of a
what? I gotta be honest with you, Dragon. Based on all the stuff I've seen, this is probably my favorite take on Bane as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was holding on to Batman and Robin for a long time, but this eclipsed it. All right.
So Bane here, he's like saying, "I owe you something. I owe you something especial." Because this particular assignment I will derive exquisite pleasure from. Miss Candace, call me Bane. So we got to talk about the voice actor on Bane here. So the wonderful Henry Silva does the voice of Bane. Now, Henry Silva, he was in the original Ocean's 11, not the one with George Clooney, kids. The original.
Oh wow, the original. Oh damn, that goes back. Wow.
He's the Native American character. I believe there's like in Hollywood where they cast him as a Native American. He wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
And he was the Native American guy from Ocean's 11 way back in the day, and he's a really talented character actor. And points he brought the charm and menace so well. Like that's saying he comes back he comes back 2 more times in the DCAU, and then they recast him with a good actor. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying Henry Silva was the man.
This is the last time we see him in Batman proper.
Yeah, this is the last time we see him in the animated series proper. Then he's gonna be revamped, and you're gonna see him twice in the. Anyway.
Decent one-hit wonder.
Certainly. But yeah, Henry Silva, I always loved like the charm and menace he brought. It's basically, this has always gave me the idea, unfortunately this is now never going to happen, but I always wanted if Ricardo Montalban to voice and or play Bane, like at least voice Bane.
Oh my God.
Because basically that's kind of what you had. Henry Silva kind of channeling a little bit of Ricardo Montalban in terms of like the class and the menace, like that's, anyway. That's always been like when I hear Bane in my head, I'm always going for like something like a little bit like Henry Silva or like kind of a Ricardo Montalban, like that's sort of that's sort of like the charm and class, but it's that little hint of menace that's just going to terrify. Like he's not being like a big booming voice, or he's not, because you can go one of 2 ways with Bane, as you saw. You can either go the Hispanic route, or you can go the Spanish route, or you can go the
sophisticated route.
Because that's his other parentage. He comes from like he's part British and he's also part Spanish, so he makes anyway. Okay, so she's the point is all complements the intellectual as well as the the strategic nature of Bane here. That's what I love about all that too. But also with the luchador angle, which we're really leaning heavy into in this interpretation. Which the luchador angle is not really all. The animated series was one of the first times I saw him really lean into the luchador thing. They really kind of embraced the theatrical side of Bane. He was a little theatrical nightfall. And the guy loves the ceremony of it all. Like, he plays the long game, and they kind of interpret that here too. He's waiting for like the big prize fight with Batman by the third act. Okay, so Rupert Thorne, he is in the gym. He's training with Jake, one of his underlings. He's basically Rupert Thorne trying to stay in shape because every time Batman always takes him out. The last time he had a one-on-one encounter during the opening of season 3, he's like, I don't want that to happen again. So he's training. Get that shape. Jake's kind of busting his balls here in the scene. He's just like, "Come on!" He's trying to get a run, trying to get him to put extra oomph into the boxing here. This is why Batman's run circles around you these days, boss. And then that ticks off Rupert Thorne's like sweating profusely. He's like, bam, off screen. Bane and Candace enters. You just can't find good help these days. Bane says, "So I've heard." Tell Jake when he comes to
tell him he's fired.
Yeah. Time to do a little business, Mr. Bane. Oh, God, I love John Fern. I got
Mr. Bane. You gotta
Yeah.
love Mr. Bane. Hey, shake a leg. Hey, shake a leg. It's Mr. Bane. It's Mr. Bane.
Okay, so by the way, you know what I love about this episode? Again, we mentioned the Casablanca thing. We're really having some fun with the setting here. I love the 40s newspaper exposition.
Yeah, I hear
Where we
you.
say so much with these newspapers, and I love it. It's just so cool. Okay, so basically, Rupert Thorne mentions, and also shows it through the newspaper, that Batman busts his jewelry smuggling operation. Says, "You're lucky, Mr. Bane. You almost Batman. He didn't nab all. You're lucky he didn't nab all the jewelry. This made it out of the smuggling bust, or else you wouldn't have gotten paid." So let's see, and also my logic on Rupert Thorne, by the way, is that, again, every time Batman stops him, he's down one asset. So he still has the company, but yet again, he's losing his criminal enterprise, like these smuggling busts.
Sense. He's kind of like slowly being kind of hemorrhaged out of his empire bit by bit.
It's always been my headcanon for all the businessmen in the animated series when they face a loss by Batman. Like Roland Daggett especially, but we'll get to him one more time later this season. But it really shows there.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's see. So, point being, he has like a giant case full of $5 million worth of diamonds. So let's see. So, basically, the whole thing cost him like $10 million in terms of like his losses. He estimates like a loss of $10 million, I believe. The fiasco cost me $10 million. You almost didn't get paid. Lucky you didn't have these diamonds in the bus. If Bane takes his $5 million, again, I love how intimidated Rupert Thorne is around Bane. He takes the case and he walks. He just kind of turns as he's like right next to the punching bag. He says, "No, Mr. Thorne, you're the lucky one." And then bam, hits it like Captain America style all across the thing. But even worse, he knocks into the weights and everything. All comes crushing down. Then we have this great gag where Rupert Thorne says, "I'm making my secretary available to you." Like, he doesn't want to be around this guy.
All right. So next up is the Killer Croc heist, right?
Yes, but basically I got to tee up the Killer Croc and he's have a really great line.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right there. So basically, if my secretary's available for any background you might need, and he says, "My needs have already been met." He presents a newspaper yet again.
Oh God.
Of Killer Croc escapes Arkham. Says, "Hey, you're going after Batman, not Killer Croc." And then we have, I love how he intimidates Rupert Thorne in the framing here. Recently, he's kind of like takes a step towards him and he just towers over Rupert Thorne. "No, but the Batman will surely be on the reptile's trail. I will observe the Bat in action, then understand how he thinks and fights. I will break him." And Candace, importantly, she's really excited by this Bane character. She's really impressed by him, and also how he's terrifying her boss, which kind of gives her a little bit of a light bulb moment. And one of my favorite deliveries by Henry Silva. I don't know why, after all these years, like a nostalgic thing, where it says, "Now tell me, where do I find this Killer Croc?"
Killer Croc.
Killer Croc.
Dragon, there's one delivery in particular that we'll get to. It's in the third act that I absolutely ate up.
I have a feel. I think I know what it is, but we'll get there. Okay, so speaking of Killer Croc, we cut to where Killer Croc is. So Killer Croc, again, everyone has really good fashion sense this episode.
I know, right? Oh my God, Killer Croc is looking good, man.
I gotta tell you, this is like some of the Killer Croc. He's had 3 episodes where he just looks fantastic. He's got this. You have Almost Got Him and Vendetta's first appearance. He looks fantastic in all these. This is like some of the best Killer Crocs ever looked.
Definitely.
Wearing his hat and his coat, sporting the Ninja Turtle look, looks dapper. So Crocs, right. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so we see him. Guess what, Dragon? Shock and awe in a warehouse.
Yep. The staple again. You build it up again. Animated series. They built the book in the warehouse setting.
Oh yeah. All right, take it from there, Dragon.
All right, so Croc, he's leading like a little heist at a warehouse, basically stealing stuff as well as like money from a safe. So basically, takes out the guards. He's leading the crew, but he's also the de facto muscle as well.
That's cool, man. I like to see Croc in more of a leadership position. This is one of the rare times we get to see it.
What's so great about that, Tiki, is that everyone forgets that Croc had a really great revenge plan with the Vendetta episode against Harvey Bullock. The guy actually, he's a career criminal. Versus, Batman's impression. Everyone thinks of Batman's impression of Killer Croc. "I threw a rock at him."
Yeah. Sure.
Which again is Batman being insulting towards Killer Croc, but again he's not. Croc is a little more clever than people give credit for. He walks a line sometimes. He walks a line, but here we walk the proper line. Anyway, so Croc, these guys are trying to crack the safe, but then Batman and Robin swoop in. They crash through the skylight really awesomely. They're taking out the goons. Croc, like, no time to correct it. No time for this. He just picks it. He just picks up the safe. So importantly, the whole reason this whole scene's in here with the safe is to show Killer Croc, tough guy. If you haven't seen him, well, if you forgot, Killer Croc, up to this point, probably the strongest Batman villain.
Mm-hmm.
So he's lifting a safe. They throw a flashbang grenade at Croc, and it basically leads to a chase. They go past a construction site. Like Croc, he throws like some scaffolding at him to slow him down as he dives into the sewers, and he's basically waiting with a steel.
Threw some scaffolding at him.
Doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
I know.
So Croc, he's in the sewers, which is a nice setting, by the way. Like doing the sewer setting yet again. I like how we've never.
Oh God, Dragon! Remember when we did the Suicide Squad podcast, and the only positive thing I had to say about the movie was like, well, that one scene when Croc's in the sewers and he kind of scurries along like a crocodile is kind of cool.
Yeah.
God.
I remember.
Oh, let us never speak of that.
Well, yeah, a little subtle point to the animated series. You know, every time we go to the sewers, it's never quite the same thing. Like they shake it up each time, which is nice. Uh-huh. So again, I like how tube-like it is in this setting. Very piping. Yeah. There's a Croc's waiting with like a steel pipe to like bash Batman and Robin like as they turn the corner. He's just waiting for him. But then something happens.
Yeah, doesn't Bane interfere at this point?
Yes, our guest star knocks on the. Basically, bam! His hand just goes through like steel piping of the sewer. It's like,
of course, it does.
It's like a wall of piping on the other side of it. So he just like bam! He crushes, bam! He smashes his way through the thing, and it has this great line: "He's mine to destroy, monster." Over my dead
Dragon,
body.
I'd like to, I also just want to throw in there, I think that the reason why Killer Croc was in the suit was just to kind of make him more memorable in this episode.
I guess so.
And you know what? It worked. It's not a bad thing. It totally worked.
All right, so Croc, Croc's like, over my dead body, and of course this is like the worst thing. This is from Nightfall, but I believe you know this. But the point being, this is from Nightfall. You have the big sewer encounter, which again was also to establish the menace of Bane, the fact that Bane was watching Batman. So this is a nice. I love how we worked it in here, and again, yet another. We kind of, again, not just the shows the strength that Bane poses against like the previously strongest Batman villain. But it's again, it's also like we're working in some canon there. It's quite nice. It's a nice little. Anyway, so point being, as you wish, and then he uses the famous Venom dial. I've always loved the rigging of this device, where like the red button pumps him down, the gray button, it's a dial, and he pushes it down to lock in like how much Venom he wants, and the tube plugs into the head. Very straightforward. I've always loved the design work of that. So. He pushes in the Venom, and we have the red back rat. It shows up first here, so we have the red back rat. He pieces up. And we have like this, like I love how terrifying like Croc is just so befuddled, like what's going on. Like as we see the shadow of he's pumping him, like Croc's like what? And then off screen, I love it. We can only do it off screen because it was really graphic in the book. Or again, classically, Bane he breaks Croc's arms and he beats the crap out of him. Batman are chasing. They hear like that sounds like Croc, and they find him just floating in the water, which is great.
Oh God!
No sign of what the heck did this to him, and then they're just kind of dragging him out, kind of like Vendetta. They pull him out of the sewer and everything. And Robin's like glass half full here, man. It's like, hey, maybe there's like another vigilante in town. Maybe there's like another like crime fighter, someone trying to help us out. Well, maybe we're inspiring some folks. I don't know. Anyway, then of course we turn the corner and we reveal this is like I know we've seen a damaged car in the mechanic, but this is the most memorable destruction of the Batmobile for me. We see the crumpled Batmobile.
Totally.
And every time I see it, my heart,
man.
Because I love this car, every time I see this shot, I was like, oh, just a little bit.
And of course, Batman taking it personally, and Batman notices, whoever did this with their bare hands.
You're right about one thing, Robin. This guy with bare hands. Actually. It's like, oh god, just seeing a crumpled Batmobile by bare hands and like that's like just undercutting. Oh god, it's so horrible.
Alright, so Batman pays a visit to Killer Croc in the, I assume, the hospital ward of the
Well,
prison.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think you're right. They're in Stonegate. Like, I don't know if it's a cell, like it must be like a hospital wing, yeah.
Uh-huh. It doesn't matter. So Croc and Batman just have a great back and forth, like, I figured you wouldn't mind some company. Visiting hours are over. Just,
This is a
good stuff like that.
So one other thing I want to note with Croc here, so this might be a thing going forward, I'm pretty sure it stays this way going forward, is that you'll notice we did the trial episode, Croc was in Arkham. So sometimes Croc's in Arkham, sometimes he's in Stonegate. The one where he's on the run, he was supposed to go to like a place outside of Arkham. So my logic, my headcanon's always been that it's always dependent on the crime, and Croc's, especially what he did this time with the well-dressed suit and everything. He's wearing the fedora and then the coat and everything. This was a well-thought-out crime. It's not a crazy crime, therefore he's going to prison.
Right. Makes sense.
Anyway, so we have the interrogation here. Like, I didn't think you mind the company. Visiting hours are over. Basically he wants, how do these, Batman's being really cool here. How do these traction things work?
Mm-hmm.
When my bones heal, I'll show you firsthand. Who did this to you, Croc? Batman's being real upfront. Who did this to you, Croc? And he says, why would I tell you? Fine, if you want to suffer. If you want to suffer in silence, fine by me. And of course, I love this the terror in Croc's eyes. So it just goes over, and the smile on Batman as he just sees he's messing with the little traction lever thing. Basically, he's lowering it, which is hurting Croc. Okay. So he tells him, the guy was huge. He had tubes in his head that pumped him up like twice his size, and he had a South American accent. See, was that so hard? The hard's going to be when he pumps up and snaps you into a little foreshadow. We're building up the third act threat. Snapping Batman. Again, the people going in for the Nightfall crowd who may have gone out of this episode disappointed. I don't know, but the ones that went in this episode like, oh god, it's going to break his back. Oh boy, that's what they're thinking. So anyway, then don't bet on it, Croc. Don't bet on a killer. Later. Yeah, that's great.
Just a 1-2 punch of puns.
In such a serious third act of an episode, I love that Batman. He's keeping it light.
Right. For sure.
For the most part. Speaking of which, light scene. Robin is working on the car. He's kind of seeing it. I love the idea. Robin's so deluded before they take it to the mechanic. They're like, I wonder if I can maybe assess the damage here. Because honestly, the reason this scene is in here is that we need Alfred to make a funny. That's the only reason. But I like to, again, if you want to apply a logic, Robin thinks maybe he can get it working. Maybe they need to get it working in order to drive it over to the mechanic. I don't know, whatever you want to figure out anyway. The point being, Robin's working before Alfred comes by. There seems to be a ding in your door, sir. And Batman has one of the great lines of the episode. Do you have
it? Nice to see you haven't lost your sense of humor.
As in response to, he trashed my car, Alfred, between a couple of guys.
Yeah, that's sorry, I jumped ahead one. But yeah, Batman very pissed about damaging the Batmobile. I love that. I love that he takes it so personally.
Again, half joking, but serious. There's that car.
I don't know how joking he is, Dragon. Let's be honest.
Between a couple of guys, that's real personal. Okay, so Croc reminded Batman of this prison experiment. Again, this is a thing they've been building in there. It pays off big time in Batman Beyond. Batman keeps up to date on Interpol and the international stuff. He keeps up to date on it because, again, it might enter Gotham one day, so he wants to know about it. So Croc reminded Batman of this prison experiment they heard about a couple of years back. Basically, we have the Batman giving the story on Bane. Which, here's the thing, this is pretty accurate. This is again, it's a really solid adaptation. They left out, of course, because it's Saturday morning, they can't get all the gruesome, gritty details. They can't mention he was a baby born in prison that was forced to serve out of the... But again, everything else that follows, this is kind of again, it's the more G version of that, but it fits, though. It's that... It's an abridged version too. We're gonna have he died, but then he was revealed to be alive. We don't do any of that.
Right? Yeah, sure.
But again, it's a perfect economy. That's what I'm saying. You mentioned earlier again.
I have a good comparison. Right?
What do you got?
And this is gonna require. I'm gonna kind of go back. I don't necessarily know if this is like Scholastic Book Club, but it's kind of like in the same territory. Do you remember the Great Illustrated Classics?
Vaguely.
basically there were like abridged versions of famous novels where they would like have actual text from famous novels, but like kind of abridge it in a way that like, would make it more digestible, and you'd have like pictures and stuff to go along with it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They have like
yeah.
the white covers, red text.
No, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is basically like a great illustrated whatever it's called for Bane. A great illustrated classic for Bane.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, because of course, pretty accurate in that he's born. They're not saying he's born in the prison. The point being, guy was serving within Penadora prison. The place has been around for like 25 years. Only been one escape. Bane 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
As we reveal Penadora prison. I love the black and white stills and then the footage of Penadora. By the way, Batman's kind of putting it on the screen here, and we reveal Project Gilgamesh, which I think they just gave it. They gave it like a nice kind of monolithic name. So again, I don't think that was the actual. The point being, they're spicing it up a little bit and economizing it. It's a good adaptation. So essentially, they were in the prison. They were doing a super soldier program and using prisoners as test subjects. Which what they're not saying is that I killed all the prisoners, and they intend to have that fate for Bane. Chance it might work. And anyways, the point being, then Bane came along. They tested on Bane to make the Ultimate Warrior, and it worked too well. As we see Bane, and we have to cut away from it too because it's like he's going really horrifically, like killing these guys. As Bane, basically, they do the process. He gets pumped up, and basically he's throwing these guys around. The camera goes again, quite scary. Good build up to the third act.
Mm-hmm.
So after his escape, and this has been my favorite element, this is why this is my definitive Bane in many respects. This is after the escape, we mentioned that Bane went into business as a freelance assassin, and he charges $5 million a job. And my headcanon, again, they never said this didn't happen in the comics, but it was always like Bane has been obsessed with Batman. They're not saying it here because of his bat phobia, but the point being he has an obsession with Batman and Gotham because he wants to rule Gotham, and because Gotham operates like Penador, only the strong and the strong who dominate with fear rule over Gotham. Fear, the whole fear-based thing. So the point being, he wants to make the Gotham and the world like a prison. That's kind of Bane's imperative. The point being, Batman goes around the world and trains to become Batman. Bane, after he escapes prison, he trains as a mercenary and as an assassin around the world until one day he's called to take out the Batman. That's always been my headcanon with that whole he's an assassin for hire. That's his version of training around the world to make him a formidable threat for Batman. I don't know. Point down, that's being self-indulgent here. Let's get off of me. Back to the thing. So,
all right. I was just letting you do your thing, Dragon.
The point being, this guy is obsessed with Batman. Wants to take him out. So it's a question of like, who wants to eliminate me? Well, that line goes around the block, sir. Okay, different question. Who has $5 million? And Tiki, yet again, last time, but gloriously for the last time, Alfred just happens to have a newspaper that says
right. just pulls it out.
I know it's a little coincidental as all get out, but it's awesome.
It works. I'll totally accept it.
And again, the smuggling thing is in the news.
Yeah. All right, so Bane lifting some weights, flirting with this girl as you do.
Again, the things for the weights from the suitcase from earlier.
Right.
So we're in Thorn Enterprises. So let's see. And there's also a little bit, if you want to read into it, is like it's the rich get richer. Thorn still has his building. I don't know. It's like even the rich get richer even when they're busted.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. So let's see. So Bane here, he's anticipated Batman's every move. Now he's kind of gotten a little glimpse of him with the Killer Croc thing earlier, and they promises Candace, very soon you will have the pleasure of removing the mask from Batman's decimated face. So again, I love the mask angle, and again with the luchador thing, because again they've added the nose and the mouth to make it look like a luchador mask versus the comic where it just doesn't have anything there. So. And again, they're giving it a purpose where once he defeats Batman, he's going to unmask him classic luchador style. You kind of like lord over your opponent that you beat him by removing the mask. Pretty cool. And giving it a purpose, not just like why. It's like basically ask the question: why does Bane look like a luchador in Nightfall? It says, well, okay, here's why he's a luchador.
Yeah, I like it. And it kind of adds to the lore a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Okay, so Rupert Thorne interrupts. It's important. Like there's a big moment for the third act. There, so they make kissy face here. Before that happens, Candace is so basically as Bane's
I'm
putting
just
the moves on.
imagining Bane in the full on luchador mask, legitimately making a kissy face.
Well, he kind of does.
I mean, you're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So the point being, he and Candace are sharing this private moment where, again, like Bane's, the idea is, again, for me, I think it's pretty, the blanks fill themselves in. If he takes Batman out, he wins Gotham. He's going to take over Gotham and rule it like a prison. And in doing so, Candace kind of sees the opportunity here of, like, once you take out Batman, once you take out Batman, you could rule over Gotham. But what about your employer? Well, accidents do happen. That's going to be important.
Oh yeah. Mark that in the book, kids.
So as they go in for kissy face, Rupert Thorne then interrupts. He interrupts the passion and the power chat right now. He looks out the window with Bane as Candace is leaving. Candace is leaving. They're looking out the window saying he's out there somewhere. Bane says he might be closer than we think. Again, Bane being so smart, he knows they're waiting for him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, again, strategically, he took out Croc, knowing Batman would interrogate Croc, and he'd be scoping him out at some point. So again, Bane being really smart here.
But meanwhile, we see Robin looking in on them, and he's got his goggles, he's got a listening device, he's recorded some damning evidence.
Yeah.
As he follows, as he kind of visually tracks Candace as she gets into a cab, and then meanwhile the Batmobile pulls around the corner. But then Dragon, very intimidating, a shadowy figure, I love this shot, a shadowy figure just goes up behind Robin and just kind of charges at him.
Yeah, oh boy, if they only could have switched that who split up in this thing, Robin would have been saved a lot of trouble.
Right,
like,
right.
I guess Robin just drew the short straw with the possible encounter for Bane. But yeah, again, Bane this feels like classic, like the lead up to Nightfall. Basically, they would have like these chance encounters, like a chase with Bane. Here's Bane's like he has it all covered, man. His Bane just shows up. And he's just waiting for Robin because again, the idea of Bane ran across like Winter Soldier style. Man, he ran like down a bunch of flights of stairs and buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he grabs Robin by the arm. He's dangling him over a building, and again, like the fight is over before it begins. And I love the ceremony of Bane. Again, obviously this part of the character translated so well in Dark Knight Rises. During he's very chatty during a fight, which is great. So Robin, again, he's handling himself pretty well in this scene, where he's doing an acrobatic swing. Where basically
he's ahead of him. He's kind of hiding in corners, kind of trying to trick him.
I love how you hear like the popping of Bane's bones as he flips him, as he tries to put some distance between the two of them. Eventually, Bane gets the drop on Robin. He does this sleeper hold on him. And again, I like the complimentary nature. Such courage for one so small. You can yet be of use to me. So meanwhile, Candace's place.
God. All right, so let's see. Batman drops in on her.
Great silhouette.
Yeah, great silhouette. Dragon, let's put a pin in it, but this scene contains maybe my all-time favorite Bat exit.
It's a great one.
So we'll get there.
So remember when Batman when he does the Bat entrance though? Remember when he makes the entrance when she's like has like a mirror on her closet and she's like,
no, it's a great entrance too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
She basically
that exit though, man. That exit. It's like Jesus Christ. No, there's a man on a mission.
Yeah, I know, it's so great. So closing, we reveal like Bat just pops up. I'd like to speak to you about your new boyfriend.
Oh God.
So then Bat like staking out the place, waiting for like something with Bane. Honestly, waiting for Bane to show up possibly. So Batman waits and cancels. He's just like flipping through the channels, just kind of waiting. And then Batman's like, looks like he stood you up. Then Candace is like, I love how confident and cocky Candace is in this whole episode, man. She's a mean lady, just like saying that. Yeah, he was obsessed with you in prison, and again, the whole he became obsession with the bats, which also he heard about Batman, which caught his interest. Like my dread is this formidable guy is wearing what I also fear. This guy intrigues I gotta beat this guy. It's like symbolic. I gotta conquer my fear by conquering this guy and this city. Anyway. So point being, he was obsessed with you in prison. He knows you better than you know yourself. And of course, the phone rings. I bet that's for you. I love that the most dangerous Batman foes, the most formidable guys are the ones obsessed with Batman and study Batman. Think about it. Ra's
Yeah,
al
absolutely. Absolutely.
Think about the list of our formidable guys. We have Ra's al Ghul, we have the Joker, we have Clock King, who did study Batman. Again, Clock King, not a physically threatening guy, but he knew Batman's moves. He was anyway. So phone rings. I bet it's for you, and it is Bane. So, of course,
Batman, you have a lovely, lovely voice. No, I'm just kidding.
So seriously, again, I love Henry Cavill was just killing it this season.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm watching you, Batman.
I love how Bane, like, the thing he starts with is rest assured, Batman, if I had a sniper, you wouldn't have reached the phone.
Yeah, if I were a common sniper, you would never have reached the phone. What do you want?
That's so intimidating. That's so intimidating, man. I love it.
He gets even more intimidating as it goes on, Tiki. I mean,
sure.
The revamp here, he has some chilling moments in the revamp.
Nice.
So let's see. So what do you want? And then this is great. And on the rewatch, you're like doing this, like coming back to this episode. This line, I never caught this. How creepy this line was. Something more personal between foes. That's a great line. Something more personal. He wants to really charge Batman up for the fight. That's why he's adding insult to injury with his phrasing of this here. Like, something more personal between foes. What do you value most? Or should I say, whom do you value most? And of course, he looks across the roof. And this is a Bane move, man, where he looks across the rooftop. We discover Robin's vest and his cape. And then we have it, man. What happened? What does Batman do once he looks out that window and just shocked by, oh God, Robin's been captured?
Oh God! He throws something to break the window, Dragon.
Footstool.
I forget exactly what. What?
Footstool.
A foot, right? He throws a goddamn footstool through the window. Just wastes no time, Dragon. Batman is not fucking around. I love it. He's just like, oh shit, not my Robin! Bam! Footstool to the window, jump out, thanks, bye. I love it.
And I think, I don't know if it was exactly this, but I love it. It looks like Candace was using the footstool, or because I think her feet might have been out. But I love how shocked she is by it, though. She's like,
right.
And he's died.
Man.
It was just awesome. And that, these are my fist pumping moments with Batman. He's like going to save somebody, or going like on the mission to save. It's like, yes, not wasting a moment. Yes.
So
of course,
good.
she had it coming. I hope she like ticks off the guy who leases her apartment or whatever. Had it coming. But of course, and this shows, man, Candace, like, she knows the plan. So she's like, is grabbing her purse and she's gonna beat him there because she knows where he's going. All right, so Batman, he grapples across the rooftop. He finds kind of the little kind of flag, the apropos flag here, and of course he has the clue pinned to the vest, the Rose's Thorn, which is Rupert Thorne's cargo ship at the wharf. The Robin is chained to a weight. We have a drowning death trap here. He's chained. He's kind of tied up and chained. His feet are chained to a weight on a crane.
Yep.
And Candace, like, she goes for the mask. She's like, this bit always stuck with me. She goes for the mask, and then Bane, again, while he's still sweet on this lady, like, he really cares about this. He grabs her hand. You can hear, like, a little bit of a bone pop, too. Like, oh, man, this is really, like, almost cracking it. It's like, Bane, I want his mask. Again, she's really getting full. She really wants to rule Gotham with this guy. I want his mask. Soon you will have them both. Again, so confident, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy! So right. Robin is then lowered into the drowning death trap. The idea of water's kind of filling this little kind of cargo part of the ship, and he'll drown if Batman doesn't show up.
Very ceremonious.
Yeah, nice hanging with you. Again, Candace just really mean, just making the flirty small talk.
She is, man. Like the more this episode goes on, the more evil she gets, and I kind of like that trend, that progression on her.
Yeah, she already screwed over Harvey Dent big time. Now it's just getting on, man. She's trying to get Batman and Robin. She's a mad woman. All right. So Bane welcomes. I love that Bane just like standing on top of like the tallest part of the cargo ship with this epic leap that he's going to do again, like he's in a ring. And I love to see if this were Batman 66, and of course they've adapted Bane to the 66 comics. By the way, little fun fact. which is really cool. Made him like a full-on luchador. And that's what I'm saying. I love that we set this on a cargo ship to try to legitimize, if we're going the luchador route with Bane, we can't put him in a wrestling ring because it's going to be so cliche. We don't want to do that. So we're kind of putting him in something with kind of railings, kind of guardrails, kind of like a wrestling ring. I know we kind of defy the laws of physics later, but it's cool. You know, it's just, we put him in kind of a makeshift arena that logically the bad guy would own, and again, you can like do a lot of damage to.
Yeah.
All right. So, prepare to meet your master. So he dials up the venom. Oh boy, I love that. Again, I love this distribution system. So then
this is a great kind of foreshadow because we get exactly what the venom does. We see it kind of like in its full potential in the proper dosage.
Mm-hmm. And also, again, we're doing a little bit of the vein effects, and also you'll kind of notice it here. Hair is very tricky to do. In the Bane in the comics, very hairy man. And this is like why, like, when we have Batman having a shirtless fight with Ra's al Ghul, Batman in the comic, hairy as all get out.
Oh dear.
Animated series, not so much because hair is very doing all those lines would be a mess. It looked like he'd be wearing like a sweater or something, like a zebra sweater or something. So that's why the Bane. However, so they did go the extra mile. When he pumps up, they had like a hormonal thing where he does grow a little bit of hairs in certain shots around the shoulders, like he has in the comics.
Sure.
So again, I like that at least they attempted it, man. I'm not mad at him for like that. He doesn't look like some of the Nightfall purists, I'm sure. Anyway.
Oh God.
So, no, they probably don't care at all. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway,
right.
Point being, Bane dives. He just jumps into the proverbial ring, and I love just the moment this fight starts. And this is like how you should start any Batman-Bane fight. Batman's in trouble, and you should be worried about Batman. So Batman starts off. He throws out 3 punches, like bam, 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 body shot, and then like punch to the face, nothing. Batman's in trouble. It's like the Indiana Jones fight. Batman's in such big trouble right now.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. And then he just kicks. Batman just gets kicked, and then he gets like thrown into the railing. Again, we have like the arena. Again, we're defying laws of physics here. Just kind of bounces off the railing back at Bane, and then Bane just kind of clotheslines Batman. Oh. But I love the logic of this fight here. Batman's using Bane's size against him because that's the only thing he can do. He does like this kind
of. And Batman, a lot of leg action for Batman
because that's the only thing that's working right now.
Exactly.
I love that Batman. We've seen him conquer any fight in the animated series, but going up against Bane, this is like nothing he's ever come up. Like he can throw Rhino around all day, like we saw in the last episode of Catwalk. He can like kick around that big guy, but this is a guy who knows how to fight, and he's pumped up with Venom. And he knows Batman's moves. So these 3 are like Batman's doom. So Batman, the only thing that works, basically when he's down after the clothesline, Batman kicks him and it works. So, okay, I'm going to use my legs in this fight. Then he does his like leg flip thing where he wraps his legs around Bane's head and he's like tosses him. Does it, and we do a speed up thing where he then does it again. Then it goes for the 3rd time, but Bane's smart. So he's like, bam, just throws him to the ground. Oh, God, just... A lot of body slams. I'm feeling everyone's body.
Oh yeah.
So then he grabs Batman, throws him into the crates. Is a big part here. So he throws Batman into the crates, and Batman, he kind of eyes this. Batman gets a little light bulb moment as he sees like the supplies in kind of the crates that are on the ground here, and of course Bane's walking. I will break you. And as Bane making his way over there, Batman using his surroundings, a little Ra's al Ghul lesson there, just classically. And Batman uses a mooring gun. A mooring gun, it's like what they use to get the buoys in. It's like what they use, like they shoot. It's not as cool looking as this, but this is what they use, like to reel in buoys in the ocean.
Yeah.
So, like, shoots Bane with this thing, and just like it propels him off the ship, which is awesome. So Bane's taken care of. So now Batman's rushing to save Robin. He dives in the water. He picks the lock on the chains. So basically, Robin, he's good now. He can swim now. Candace is a little worried, but then I love this. Like Candace is plotting her exit at this point, but she just bumps into Bane. We don't even see him. He's like, is Bane soaking wet and ticked off?
Right.
So then puts his hand on Batman's shoulder as he's about to help Robin out of the thing, and then Bane, you see this ticked off Bane face. like, and just he just grabs Batman and body slams him. Then the fight continues. He kicks Robin back in the water because this is a solo fight. Then I'll admit, I've said a lot of nice things about this episode. Then we have a little bit of a. It's not bad. It's a little weak sauce.
What the Candace trying to drown Robin?
Yeah,
you know what? I'm going to defend it. The thing I appreciate about it is that Dragon. It's almost kind of like don't get me wrong. When I say this, it's not nearly like in the same realm of defined as this, but it's almost kind of like a miniature like Azula style breaking point where it's like at this point she's like so off the deep end that she's like, fuck it, I'll drown this boy to achieve my goal.
I mean, again, I like how I'll easily.
I like how unhinged it is, Dragon. That's the one thing I'll give it credit for.
I hear your point on that too. I'm just saying, I'll easily give this a pass because I'm having such a great time with the episode. But this is like the time where it just throws in my face the Batman and Robin adventures of it all, where it's the
right.
The adventures of Batman and Robin of all here, where it's that we need to give Robin something to do in this one-on-one fight. So it's that he just says, hey, sweetie, why don't you? I'm not finished with you. Or says something along like, what's he say? Robin says, oh yeah, come here, sweetie. I got something to discuss with you guys. Not happy about with this whole situation.
That is a bad line. I'll give you that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like literally.
That's
it's just
not a great line.
What I'm saying is like this whole thing of like, hey, come in. We have this dumb moment with Robin. It's fine. It's just like a little silly. He's making a little throw. He doesn't expect her. He doesn't expect her to do any of this. Like, hey, he expects her to run away. I mean, I guess kind of all power to her. Like she goes for it. But you see Rob as she like takes her shoes off and everything. She's about to dive. You see this dumbfounded Robin face for, oh, I didn't see this coming. She dives and then they have like a chicken fight. She's biting him in the scene. I'll give it that. She is going crazy. I mean, but again, it's just like we have to give Robin something to do while he's not helping him fight off Bane. So it's fine. The point is, it's fine. Just give it anyway.
All right.
Point being, chicken fight in the water. So back to the meat and potatoes of it all here. So. Batman is cracking crates over Bane's head. We're intercutting this with the Robin Candace, the tussle in the water. Batman's cornered. Here's some of my favorite bits in the climax here. As we're going to get to your favorite bit in the climax, I'm sure. So, Batman's cornered. You know, the gadget fan that I am. This is the cool thing. Whenever Batman goes up against Bane, we always have a moment like this where Batman's cornered. He tosses a batarang at Bane, ideally trying to sever that line behind his head. But Bane catches the batarang, and we have the great Bane line. Toys. You try to fight me with pathetic little toys. And he crushes the batarang. Pathetic little
toys was the line that I was talking about, the delivery.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pathetic little toys.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. You're all good. It's fine. I'm not worried.
Little toys. And I love that the crushed batarang is kind of a hoisted petard in this situation, too, by the way. I love that. Like he doesn't go for a new one. He uses the crushed one. That's the poetic justice for you. Uh-huh. So Batman is so screwed. He gets slapped down by Bane, which is from the book in the last fight. The point being the Batman. I love this. When he gets hit, he tumbles, so he kind of finds his footing again in the fight. Like, Batman's giving his all in like this last stand. We then get the money shot. So Batman's beaten. We have this great dialogue leading up to it. So. Bane, he's at his most savage. He's quite scary during all this. You've got nothing. He grabs Batman. He's like, grab him by the cape, stare him in the face, like practically spitting in the man's face as he's saying, "Beg for mercy, scream my name."
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh, that's from the book. Because he gets really chatty in Nightfall during the big backbreak moment, and then Batman says, "Never." Mm-hmm. And then he strikes the iconic pose.
Here we go.
Pose.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I mean, with Nightfall, this is like the most. Well, I'm sorry, we'll get to the point. He strikes the iconic pose.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
He strikes the iconic pose. You are beaten. Now I will break you. And we have just this fist-pumping subversion. This is the way I wanted it to go down in the book when I was reading it, being in Batman's corner, as I tend to do.
Sure. Right.
It's like, oh, why couldn't it have been? This is why I love the episode. It's like, this is like the way I want it to go. You know? where Batman, he grabs the crumpled Batarang in his hand, and like right as Bane's like right about to make the back-breaking blow, like put him over his knee. Batman revealed the crumpled Batarang that Batman swiped while he was being shot at by Bane. Bam! Stabs the Venom distribution device like right in the dial, which controls how much is going in there. Like stabs him, and he drops Batman, and Bane is freaking out. Ah! Bane is freaking out, and what happens?
Okay. Basically, I don't even know how to describe it. Try it's just like a crazy, it's like the ultimate overdose, the ultimate Venom overdose, and it's insane. It
This is how you
is
scare
insane.
kids off of drugs, steroids on Saturday morning television.
I want to ask you something, Dragon, because honestly, this kind of disturbed me as a 30-year-old grown-ass man. How did you take to this as a kid?
Oh, it was quite terrifying. Don't get me wrong. It was terrifying. I'm so glad Batman saved him. I was like, my God, it was.
Yeah. That was a good call. That was a good call for the episode, not to just leave him in that state.
But here's the thing. I love that it does two things. One, I love that it's Batman using obsession, which of course is the predominant connecting theme with Batman and his villains, using these villains' obsession as his undoing, where it's pumping himself up. His like Bane's mentality for victory at any cost, and the whole the drug dependency to beat Bane, which is always the best way you can really go up against defeating Bane. And he's done that in different ways over the years, like how he kind of uses the addiction. That's the thing I love. The other thing of it is that there's always it's showing there's a cost to Bane's strength, and sometimes it's like a sobering lesson to Bane, where it's like he tries to wean himself off the stuff when he sees how easily it was to defeat him. But basically, someone rips the tube out of you, messes with the system, you're going to be a goner.
Right.
So it's a great learning curve for him, but also it's a great message of like don't do this. Like this is like you don't want to win the way Bane does, where he kind of cheats for the victory in a sense. So Bane begins to overdose because he broke the little dial. So the Venom's just spurting out, and the muscles are overinflating. This is what's terrifying. You see the veins popping up over Bane. That's what's really.
There's a lot of things that are really effective about it, but two things in particular really got to me.
What got there?
Number one, I already mentioned this, but the red background.
That's the
very
one.
inspired choice. And number two, Dragon, the sound design, the heartbeat.
Yes, the heartbeat. And it's like almost like a sort of like a. Outside of the heartbeat, you have like it's like the pumping gauge, like a valve is like about to break off.
Right,
you hear like the pressure valve but again, even creepier with the heartbeat kind of factored in there. And of course, like here's the creepy thing for me on the Reach. If you really break it down, as with the red background, his mask is starting to tearing, and the mask being a symbol showing Bane starting to come apart. And with the mask, the red eyes on the mask just pop out completely, showing these bloodshot, panicking eyes. And seeing, it's so terrifying seeing Bane, this really calm, cool, collected, and scary guy, just panicking and just like so helpless. I can't stop the Venom. Like all the cool factors just stripped out. He's just oh god, he's just this helpless mass of muscles. The scary, sobering PSA moment with that red background, just this like
this is crack.
And like literally, he's calling for Batman's help. Like, no, help me! And the close-ups, we keep pushing in closer, and the cameras keeps going back and forth as Batman's kind of trying to get behind him, as Bane's just freaking out. You can't do this, and the distortion on the voice. You can't do this to me, and this is when the camera's like going up and like it's extreme close-ups back and zoom in, zoom out. I am invincible, and then we have the scary moment at the very end here, where it all goes crazy. I am Bane. And then Batman just pulls the tube out to save his life, and the man just practically deflates and he just kind of falls, and Candace flees, and Robin's like trying to go after Batman, says, "No, let her go. We know where she's going." Which then leads to.
All right, Drake, let's wrap up this bit really quick, man, because this is going on a little long.
Well, this is the ending, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, wrap it up quick.
Gotcha. Okay, so Thorn Enterprises, Batman's like just tosses the device on Thorn's desk right in front of him. He unmasked Bane. I love how ashamed Bane is. He's just so ashamed, just can't even look.
He
at
looks so broken. Yeah.
And then
humanized in kind of a pathetic way.
Absolutely. And then Batman just adds insult to injury. Is this the best you can throw at me, Rupert? Man, Batman really—he's the you almost feel like a tiny little morsel of sympathy for Bane. He had all
Batman's got some sass this episode, dude.
bat sass, man.
Oh god.
So go on. You're right. And the sass really comes into play here. It's like, go on, Candace, take his mask. And then it's like a triple threat here. One is adds insult to injury to Bane, then Candace, and then the Thorn here. It was like, oh, by the way, here you should listen to this as he brings a little tape recorder. You should listen. It's a new release. Let's call it Better Luck Next Time. He plays it. It's basically what was said earlier about Candace betraying Rupert Thorne. Oh, like, accidents do happen. Of course, Batman just leaves the room, almost Dark Knight Returns style, like when he left that guy to kill himself. In Dark Knight Returns, he leaves the office, and you hear Rupert Thorne just shouting, Candace! And we never see her again, Tiki. We never see her again.
Oh, God. Okay, now my alternative, Dragon.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if instead of the whole like vaguely comedic Candace, which had, for me, honestly, I'm going to be a little bit harsh here, had all the dramatic cadency of Flintstone. So, what if instead Rupert Thorne just looks up at her with a grave expression and he says, "It's so hard to find good help these days."
Okay, I'll admit that's not bad. When you contextualize it like that, yeah, yes, okay, fine. All right, yeah.
And fuck, as Kevin Smith would say, fucking credits.
Yeah.
It's like we don't need to know what happens, but something bad happens. All right. So speaking of credits, Dragon, final thoughts.
Final thoughts for me. It's again, bit of an underrated episode, depending on who you ask. Because again, you don't really as you said, doesn't always make the top 10 list. Even again, it makes a heck of an honorable mention, though. It does, and I don't know how many circles would also agree with that. I am absolutely one of those groups because I really did like this episode, and always again, it was my model for Bane for many years, and my preferred Bane still to this day. I mean, nothing against the comics. The comics Bane's always the one to beat when you really get all the Banes together, honestly. But anyway. So I've always liked it. Again, Bane comes across very cool. Got a nice build up. I think we do a bang up job. And we kind of like get all these stories. We're adapting kind of the Nightfall of it all. At least the first act of Nightfall in one episode. We accomplish a lot. It's a very tight narrative. It's very well done. Nicely and naturally incorporated into the animated series, where again, Bane very gimmicky 90s versus like kind of your timeless Batman show. This is a combination that might not go well, but you saw at the start. As we're talking about newspapers left and right, we have the Casablanca setting. We have well-dressed villains in suits. Again, they did it absolutely as well as they could, and it came off looking fantastic. Sure. It was a tall order working this character in, especially then. And I think it turned out great. It's it's true to the lore and the concept enough. And again, it's the abridged version, but I really appreciate this abridged version. It's had a lot of gimmicky potential, but I think Bane, he presented that problem, but I think they worked. This came out looking great. And this is like Batman doing an episode they don't want to do, but it turned out great. What does that say about the show, right?
All right, so final thoughts on my end. It's definitely a highlight of season 3 for me. We've kind of been through a spell of episodes that I haven't really cared all that much about. I'll be honest with you, Dragon, even Harley Quinn, like, that's not a bad episode, but I think you certainly like it more than I do. And so this is just like, very much as I love it as an adaptation, specifically because it takes some of the fundamentals of the source material, twists them around, condenses it into like a palatable format, and, like, frankly, for my money, improve some stuff from the source material. So I really think this was good. Is it going to please the purists? Probably not. But I'm not a purist, and I liked it just fine. All right. Oh boy, Dragon, I'm excited about the next one. Tell them about it.
All right. A fallen child star. A revenge-fueled reunion special. Darla Dimple's long-lost sister? Can Batman provide the salvation of syndication? Or will Baby Doll and her castmates face a killer cancellation? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave with Baby Doll. Finally, we've come here. It's arrived. Yay! I'm excited. All right.
Where can I find this killer croc?
Pathetic little toys.
Pathetic little toys.